My name is Joe and this is my Craftsmaster Journey 10-step dice shooting method. Today I'm going to do a quick overview of each of the 10 steps. So hey, coming in at number 1, we're going to be creating a benchmark. George from CY recommends that when you create a benchmark, you should roll 216 rolls. And the reason for that is the dice has 36 different possibilities. You can roll 2, 3, all the way up through 12. And there's 36 different combinations that you can come up with. And 6 times 36 is 216. So that way you're going to have 6 complete sets. We'll cover more about that in a future video. So step number 2 is securing your location. In other words, when you walk up to the table, you're going to pick your preferred spot to shoot the dice. Now, when we do our dice training, our dice influence, what we're going to do is we're going to learn one position to start off. And then once we get that down, we'll add a second position and a third position. And I'll cover again more of that when we get to the dice position video, which is coming up hopefully this next week. And I'll talk a little bit why it's important to learn each position and some of the different throws that you can do from those positions. Step number 3, we're going to be working on getting into the right frame of mind. So in other words, we're going to be working on different things like becoming rooted. We're going to be working on things about like visualization. We're going to talk about things about becoming mentally and visually prepared for what's going to be going on. So that'll be coming up in that video on step number 3. Step number 4 is going to be setting the dice. So we're going to be talking about different dice sets that you can use. And from my research, I found that there's beginner dice sets, intermediate dice sets, and advanced dice sets. So what we're going to do during that series, or part of the series, is we're going to actually break down the dice sets. We're going to be talking about what the possible combinations are if the dice stays on axis, if it goes off axis, if it implodes, explodes, pitches, single pitch, double pitch, all that type of things. So we're going to actually pick out each dice set. We're going to actually analyze them and see what the results might be. Again, those will come up in future videos. Step number 5, we're going to learn how to grip the dice. And there's a whole bunch of different types of grips that you can use. And when you're picking out your grip, make sure you pick out something that's comfortable for you, something that'll work, something that works with your body mechanics. And then also with that, like I said, we're going to go through a bunch of different types of grips, but I'm also going to show you how I made a tool to help me with my grip, something that people out in the crafts community use. So most people buy it, but I'm going to show you guys how to make this tool. It's actually pretty easy to do. Number 6, we're going to be talking about assuming the position or your body positioning. So we're going to be talking about how to position your feet, where your body should be up in relation to the table, how you should support your body by using your opposite hand, all those different types of things. So body positioning is number 6. Step number 7 is going to be actually shooting the dice. So we're going to be going through a couple things like visualizing the path and where the dice are going to, how the dice are going to go. We're going to talk about the proper arch, or how high you're going to throw the dice. And how long, actually, really, for that matter also, so that way we can throw the dice where they have the least amount of energy to hopefully control the amount of bounce at the end of the throw. And then also we're going to talk about a little bit about backspin, whether you should use it, whether you shouldn't, whether you should put more in or just keep it at a slower revolution. So that's more some of the types of things that we'll talk about in step number 7. Hey, number 8 is going to be finding your landing zone. So how are we going to find that landing zone? How do the different types of table surfaces play into finding that landing zone, and how does that affect your dice shot? What do you need to do until your dice actually come to rest? So in other words, it leaves your hand, you throw it down a table, you hit the landing zone. What should you physically and mentally be doing until those dice come to rest? Also, we're going to be working on a couple of different tools or methods that you can use for finding your landing zone. Again, we'll cover those in future videos. Step number 9 is going to be analyzing your throw. So in other words, what were the results on the dice after they came to rest? Were they on axis? Were they off axis? What happened to the dice? Did they pitch, implode, explode, that type of stuff. And then what we're going to hopefully do is try to come up with some problem solving, so some corrections that you can do based off of what your dice are doing consistently. And then step number 10 is actually doing your practice, coming up with different practice drills. I'm gonna probably record a lot of my dice throwing sessions, so that way you guys can see me in action as I'm trying to perfect my roll, analyzing my rolls. You know, and I'm going to come up with a beginner program, an intermediate program, an advanced program. And then once we're to a certain level in our training, we're going to start redoing the benchmarks and kind of restarting the process. So every time we go and practice, we're going to be picking certain steps along our journey, and that's all we're going to focus on. Strategy for craps does come into play, but right now our role or our goal is to actually perfect that shot. I hope that this brief video here will give you an idea of what's coming up in the future, the different types of things that we're going to be offering, and it gives you kind of an introduction to the 10-step method that I've put together. Now, again, this is a journey for me. This is my dice shooting journey. I have practiced shooting dice in the past, but I'm no expert by any means. And this is going to be a learning process for all of us. So keeping that in mind, guys, make sure you leave comments in the video of things that you would suggest to help improve this journey, things that you have done that has worked for you, or even things that have not worked for you. And if you're following along with me, you know, comment on how you're doing on your journey, because I am very interested. I want to see if we can all learn this process together. Hey, and if you're finding any value in this video, make sure you give me that thumbs up. And then also share this video with others, so that we can get the message out, we can get the word out, and I can help other people join our Craps Master journey. And then also, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. Now, take a look on the right side there. I have a link to the playlist where I'm going to be storing all these dice influence, dice shooting, dice control videos. Hey, my name is Joe, and this is my Craps Master journey. Let's make it yours too.